I'm Charlotte Atchley, editor of Baking and Snack magazine. In our April issue, you can read all about how Fantasy Cookie became a just right co manufacturer for the cookie category. Joining me to share more about the company's story is Russ Case, CEO of Fantasy Cookie. Thanks for being with me today, Russ.
Hey, Charlotte, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
So, in the article, you described Fantasy Cookie as being not too big and not too small, but just the right size for what the company does. What gap in the co manufacturing space does Fantasy Cookie fill?
Well, there's a lot of co-packers out there that have much larger ovens than we have and much greater capabilities, and there's a lot of other contract manufacturers out there that have rack ovens and so a much smaller operation than what Fantasy Cookie has. So we always find ourselves kind of right in the middle. So we're really fortunate in that we're filling that void for those brands, not the big mega national brands in all cases, but brands that are growing very rapidly, fast-paced emerging brands that are really have outgrown that rack oven baker, but yet they're not big enough for that large, 300-foot oven bakery that has very, very high minimums.
And how has filling that gap and that space and serving those customers impacted Fantasy Cookies operations and capital investments?
Well, what we've done is because we've got so many new fast-paced emerging brands that a lot of them look for really creative packaging capabilities. We've invested some capital in different types of packaging equipment. Where in the article that Dan produced, it highlights how we're putting in basically an enrobing tunnel this coming summer, so we can decorate cookies and bars. But at the same time, it's also forced us to go out and buy a new oven. So it's really kept us, on our game. And again, where we are a co-packer, every one of our customers has a different want and need, and we're doing the best we can to fill those want and needs.
I want to pivot a little bit and talk about, I'd love for you to tell us about how Fantasy Cookie differentiates itself through its product development.
Yeah, that's kind of new to us in the last couple of years. We brought on a food technologist on board back 2 years ago, next month actually. Her name is Christina Lates, and she's a food scientist. She's an educated food scientist, and Christina and I worked together for many, many years at a previous bakery. And she's a really, really great product developer. Really great at developing formulas from the ground up. She's got a tremendous amount of cookie baking and bar experience, both baked bars as well as cold sheeted bars, which we don't do at this point in time. It's always a category that we're potentially looking at in the future. But that's really brought a lot of new business our way because again, a lot of our customers, and even some of the larger ones, don't have that R&D, that in-house R&D capability. We do that to them as a kind of a value-added service, and it's won us a lot of new business just because Christina was able to create formulas from scratch, co-develop formulas with our customers, or refine their current formulas to commercialize it and to get it to run on our equipment.
That's wonderful to hear that you've been able to support your existing customers that way, and it's been such an effective way to bring in new business as well.
Well, it's a very expensive proposition, especially for smaller companies. I mean, if you go out and hire, a research and development house to create a formula, it can cost a lot of money, and it may, at the end of the day, may not be the exact formula that that client wanted. So, a lot of times, our customers will come right in the lab and work with Christine in the lab and develop the formula and or co-develop the formula, I should say. And once we get something off the R&D bench, then we go right to line trials. So our customers are involved, whether Christina creates a formula from scratch herself or whether the customer is involved. Our customer is very, very much a part of that whole process until basically we run their production and pack their first order.
Well, thank you so much, Russ, for joining us today and telling us a little bit more about Fantasy Cookie.
You bet. Thank you so much.